Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Airspeed Plays TCG video. This one's going to be part 5, Magic the Gathering. So this is going to be the last of the 4 main card games I'm going to be covering in this video series. I've already done Pokemon, Card Fight Vanguard and Yu-Gi-Oh! Last is Magic the Gathering. Next video is going to be where I talk about some other TCGs, just kind of briefly, not as in depth as these past ones have been. And then the final video, part 7, is going to be the kind of results where I talk about what I thought was like the best game in terms of collectability, playability and so on, and I'll show you the categories in that video. But here today, we're here to talk about Magic the Gathering, which is the oldest of the games here. It's made by Wizards of the Coast, and it's I think this game started in 1993 as far as I'm aware, and I'm surprised that I've actually never ever owned any Magic the Gathering cards until I bought this intro deck here for this video series, because I see my friends play this game and for some reason I just never got into it. I've played Yu-Gi-Oh! Before, I've played Pokemon before, Card Fight Vanguard I had to get into for this as well, but this one was definitely the one I was kind of like, oh, I'll get some Card Fight Vanguard cards, and oh, I'll just put Magic the Gathering on as well, just to have like that other game. I didn't really expect to like this, because if the game is so old, why have I never really got into it? But I was very pleasantly surprised with this game. I really like it. So yeah, let's get into it. As I said, oldest here, but they always do a good job at getting people into the game with their products. And first up for Magic the Gathering is its version of a starter deck, which is an intro pack. Now, every different set that comes out, I think, it's either every set or every block, they release an intro, 5 intro packs, I think, one for each of the Magic the Gathering colours. So there's of course white, blue, black, red and green. This is a red and green deck, and they always do that, like two colours each deck, because they're the main 5 colours of the cards in Magic. And yeah, so I got this one. I didn't choose it, I just got a random deck, and this is a pretty nice one actually. I like the green cards a lot, and red is okay. But yeah, intro packs, you know, you get your standard 60 card deck that you use in constructed formats for Magic. It mainly consists of the Theros cards, and then I think there's 4 cards from the M14 set. You also get 1 shiny card, which are quite rare in this game, and you also get some other inserts and stuff like that. But they're pretty good at getting you into game. Do a reasonably good job at introducing you to what Magic Gathering is about. But what I really like with Magic Gathering is that there's a lot of other interesting products. While with like Yu-Gi-Oh! I mentioned a lot of different types of products, I feel that Magic the Gathering has in many ways the most effective kind of products in that sort of way, in that it's less promo cards, and actually they do a good job of giving you a really good selection of cards, what Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't quite do. As well as these intro packs, there's a thing called a dual deck, where you get 2 full 60 card decks, perfect for like battling with someone else. That's like a first product that you get. I think it's a bit more kind of for more intermediate players than the intro decks, but they are starter decks still. There's your standard booster packs that you get. I should have also mentioned that in these intro packs you also get two booster packs, which I think is a great idea. You get into it using a starter pack, you get 2 packs which each have 15 cards in them. That's the Magic the Gathering booster pack size. So you instantly get like at least 3 or 4 cards you can actually improve this deck with. So that's really nice, and I think pretty much every card game should do this, where you get a pack or 2 of the latest set with a starter deck, because really it's just some cards. You do need booster packs to start off as well. Because it's also a good marketing strategy as well, because you're just like, oh, you get these booster packs with it, I need some more of these things, as opposed to if you just buy this and you don't get them with it, you're just kind of like, those booster packs don't look that good. This kind of is good. In addition to that, you know, you can get booster packs on their own. You can get booster boxes, which I think have 36 packs. Also, probably my favorite trading card game product ever, I think, comes from Magic the Gathering. And I was so impressed when I heard about this. in one of the inserts that you get in the intro pack. And this is a fat pack. This is a Magic the Gathering fat pack. That's literally the name on it. This is again for Theros. It's a really nice box. That's just it's really cool to store all your cards in. And this is basically all the cards I've got in those 2 booster packs from the thing, plus all the cards you get in the fat pack. You don't get the sleeves, but you do get 2 deck boxes. You do get, let me show you this. You get the spin down life counter. You have 20 life in Magic the Gathering. You just kind of move this around, and it's a nice 20-sided dice as well. As I said, the 2 deck boxes, and also 9 packs of cards. So that's over 100 cards in this. You get 9 packs like this, and you also get this giant pack of lands, which are the most key parts of every deck. You need lands in your deck, so you get I think it's a 100 pack land, so you get 5 of each color. No, I mean sorry, 20 of each color. And yeah, just really nice. And obviously the box that you get it in is perfect for storing the cards in. Like, look, I have basically all my cards in here, and it does indeed fit in like the deck that you get in the intro pack as well. So really good stuff, especially when I put the card sleeves on them. There's lots more space. Definitely my favorite pack, and like even if I'm not going to get crazy into Magic the Gathering, I'm probably going to buy a fat pack for every set that comes out from here on out, more or less, especially the next 2 Theros kind of inspired sets that go along with it, because I'm really impressed with it. And as I said, Yu-Gi-Oh has started to do them, and I'm really excited to see what they do with that. But Magic the Gathering does them all the time, and a really nice product. There's also a lot of other stuff. They do kind of additional formats. There's a lot of different formats in Magic the Gathering. The booster packs and stuff like that are aimed at like sealed play and constructed. But there's also stuff like Commander, where it's a different kind of type of gameplay, where you use a 100 card deck and like you have a general card and stuff like that. It's weird. And there's loads of other stuff as well, but they're the main kind of products. There's a holiday gift box out right now where I think you get 4 packs of promo card and then an even bigger box to store cards in. There's just a lot of nice products here. Magic the Gathering doesn't go too heavy into promo cards, unlike like Yu-Gi-Oh, which is kind of obsessed with them, but it's still really good products, I think, for this game. So as I said, I'm going to open up this. So I've opened it up in advance, but what you get, you get it like this. Got the box. Take this off, and your deck is like there, all sealed up, all 60 cards with the shiny on the front. Ember Swallower in the case of this red focus deck. And then you get everything in here. You get all the leaflets, all the instructions in here. The 2 packs are in here as well, and stuff like that. I wish this wasn't kind of open like this for the deck, because it would have made a cool box. You could actually store things in this kind of box, but it's kind of weird. And then even this packaging, the fact that it's not actually a piece of kind of clear plastic over this. Like, you could use this to store cards, but so overall the packaging is a bit kind of almost wasteful in a way. Like, it could have been like really useful as a way to store cards, but no. What you get obviously is, as I said, you get 2 booster packs. I don't think you get these 2 specific card designs in everyone. It's just 2 random packs. You also get in the intro packs, you get this kind of general Theros thing. It's kind of like a poster booster deck with booster pack. And then on the other side, there's actually the deck lists for all 5 of the decks, which is nice, and a brief description of how you play them, so that's a really nice thing. And then you get your how to play guide here, which also says some other stuff about the different colors of Magic. It explains to you like what they're about and stuff like that. It's a really nice. Not the best ever how to play guide I've ever seen in a trading card game. In that this, more than any other card game, I had to do a lot of kind of looking up online for certain rulings. Because it's organized a little bit differently than most card games, and like Yu-Gi-Oh gives you like a really kind of thick colored book that goes through everything in detail. This just has a really general idea of how to play the game. It doesn't go into too much specifics, which you kind of need at some points in this game. But it's fine. What you get in is cool, and then obviously these are just like half of the deck. I split the deck in half to demonstrate how to play the game, but. You get 30. You get 60 cards. This is 30 of them. It's a mix between. This is a red and green deck, as you can see from most of the cards, and it's pretty cool. You get a lot of mountains and forests to go with that, but it's a nice deck. It's doesn't demonstrate every aspect of the game in that there's very little kind of spell type of stuff in this deck. It's mainly about really powerful monsters, but nice deck. I'll show you the different types of cards next. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the different types of cards available in Magic the Gathering. So we're going to start off with the basic land cards, which are basically the Pokemon equivalent, Magic equivalent of energy cards. And these allow you to play the game. All of the other cards have a cost, and you pay that by like basically using your land. So each one of these, like this, counts for one black kind of mana. This is a blue mana, white mana, red mana, and green mana. And each of them costs a certain amount. The 4 means that it's just 4 of any color mana, and then since it's the green card, it also requires that you use at least 1 green, and then so on. There are also cards that require 2 different colors, and they're notified as by being this kind of type gold card. This is a white and blue card, and it requires 1 of each. Sorry about the wind in the background, it's pretty crazy outside. So yeah, anyway, there are 5 different types of mana, as I said. Those there they are on the bottom, and they each have a different play style. That's really what differentiates them from each other. So we'll start with black. So the description in the starter kind of book says, black magic enslaves and corrupts. Black mages wield spells of death and darkness to satisfy their desire for power. They'll do whatever it takes to win. Their cards really revolve around stuff like giving you extra life, taking life away from your opponent. It has a lot of zombie cards and stuff like that. A lot of references to death and stuff like that. And so that's what that's about. It says, blue magic is all about air, water, and things of the mind. Blue mages use their vast knowledge and quick reactions to control the battlefield and gain the upper hand. So a lot of kind of nature type stuff with this in terms of air. There's air creatures, water creatures. So they have a lot of flying creatures, blue. And since it says quick reactions, they also have a lot of like instant cards that you can use during your opponent's turn. And that's mainly to signify stuff like tsunamis, like you wash away their cards with effects and so on. Next up is white. White mages lay down the law, protecting and defending its allies. White mages call on soldiers, knights, and even angels. For them, honor and light are shield and sword. So this is the more kind of human-based magic in terms of like, this has the most humans in it, and it revolves around getting a lot of different, a lot of kind of smaller creatures onto the field, and them all kind of helping each other out, you know, the whole honors type thing. Next up is red. Red magic embodies fire and lightning, passion and fury. Mages who wield it are quick to act and quick to anger, smashing and burning their way to victory. So all of that kind of like burn spells, doing direct damage to your opponent, and then a lot of kind of quick to play monsters that aren't the most powerful but are like reasonably powerful. That's what they're about. And last but not least is green. Green magic is all about tooth and claw ferocity. Green mages revere life, growth, and brute force of nature. They summon huge creatures to do their bidding, and that's what green's all about. Really high, powerful monsters, and that's basically it. There's not a whole lot of kind of strategy going on with green. It's a brute force strategy with them. Let me just put away this that I was reading off. So yeah. There we get to the other types of cards. As I said, these are the mana which you use, and basically the idea in terms of a story behind this game is that you are a kind of magician called a planeswalker, and you use the power from the land by like tapping the card, turning it sideways, to gain 1 mana to use these kind of cast these creatures, cast these spells, and so on. So then we go into the other types of creatures, and we start off with exactly that, a creature card. And these are, for the most part, what will be the main thing in your deck apart from your land. And they come in different like styles. This is obviously a snake, here's a cyclops, and you know they usually come in a specific color, as I said. Here's a green, here's a red, here's a mix between different colors, and here's what's called an enchantment creature, where it has an ability where you can actually play it as a kind of spell, or you can just play it as a creature as it is, and it does stuff. So there's a bunch of different types here, but mainly here, as I said, there's the cost up there. This costs 4 mana of any colour and a green, so 5 overall, and it has the ability Reach, and then it has this other ability where if you pay 6 mana and then another green, you get this ability where it can basically add 4 onto its attack and toughness and stuff like that. Same with this has the ability Trample, and this is one of the things in Magic the Gathering. You have that ability Trample, it's a keyword, and you basically have to look up or memorize what that means. As far as I'm aware, that means that if it attacks a monster that's blocking, and it does more damage, the remainder goes through to your opponent's life, which isn't usually the case, so that's a pretty nice ability. These gold cards, as I said, is a mix between the two. Usually in your deck you'd only use 1 or 2 colours, so this guy really only would have a use in a white and blue deck. And obviously the deck that I just showed you is a red and green deck, so that's what that's about. As I said, there's the enchantment creature, which brings us into the idea of spells. Like, the creatures are the monster equivalent in Yu-Gi-Oh! While in terms of spell and trap cards, you basically have sorcery, instant, and enchantments. So sorcery would be like your standard spell card. You play it from your hand on your turn, its effect activates, and then it goes away. It's the kind of slowest type of thing you can cast, and it just has abilities, gain control of a target creature, untap it gains this ability, and scry 1, as it says there, look at the top card of your hand. There's a lot of different things, and obviously it costs mana, that in that case 3 and a red. Here's an instant. This is the equivalent of a trap card or an instant spell from Yu-Gi-Oh! And it requires 2 red and X, which means you can pay any amount basically there, whether that be 1, 2, or whatever, and it does that much damage to a player. And you can activate this during your opponent's turn, during your turn, or whatever. Next up is an enchantment, which is basically an equip card from Yu-Gi-Oh! In a way. You attach this onto one of your creatures and it gives it a boost. In this case, you draw a card when it enters the battlefield, and the creature gets plus 2 toughness. And again, it costs mana. Next up is an artifact creature. So, like we had an enchantment creature over here, we have an artifact creature here. And it's a colorless creature as well, which means you can throw it into any deck. It doesn't require any specific type of mana, which is good. And they have interesting abilities, like this is flying and it has first strike, which are 2 abilities, and it's obviously got an attack and toughness. Then we go to actual artifacts, which again are colorless, and basically these stay on the field and give you an effect that you can use every so often and stuff like that. This one specifically is like you activate it and it's sacrificed, so it's only a 1-use type thing. The enchantments obviously stay in the field until your creature is destroyed. Instant and sorceries are used up straight away. Last but not least is the non-basic land. These ones say basic on them. There's also non-basic, which has an effect. Temple of Mystery. This is basically what's called a scry land, which means it enters the battlefield tapped, which means you can't directly use it for mana on the first turn, but you do get to look at the top card of your deck when you play it down. But then when it's available to be used as a land, you can actually use it as a green or blue source, which is pretty nice, and if you use that specific deck. But yeah, they're the specific types of cards. Magic in basic terms, super basic terms, not the best way to describe the game, is kind of like a mix between Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon in that. It's got the Yu-Gi-Oh! Style of monsters with spells and traps, to help you. But it's held back from being super, overpowered and stuff like that by the ability to only play 1 land a turn, kind of keeping you from going crazy. Because, like on your first turn, you can't play that, you can't play that, you can't play that. You can play that one if you wanted to, because that only requires 1 mana. But as you can see, you have to be very careful in how you build your deck, because you never know how much land you're going to get. But yeah, that's they're the different types of cards. I'm going to show you how you actually play a game now. Okay, so here's the quick setup for how you play Magic the Gathering. You obviously each have your deck, whether that be a limited 40 card deck or a standard 60 card deck or a 100 card commander deck. And You shuffle your deck, let your opponent shuffle your deck, and then you put it down in just a deck zone. The Magic the Gathering doesn't really have a specific organized board. You can put your deck pretty much wherever you want. I just kind of tend to keep it the same way as Yu-Gi-Oh! You know, deck here, graveyard right on top of the deck, and then for the most part the field is fairly open place. There's no specific zones, but I tend to go, okay, creatures along the top. When I activate spells, you know, maybe put them on top of the creatures near them. If they're enchantments, you know, put them right next to the creature. And then lands along the bottom to just keep track of them all, like how many you have, how many have been used, and so on. But for the most part, it's a very open board. You flip a coin, decide who goes first, and then you each draw 7 cards, basically. So then it comes around to our turn. We'll just say this side of the board's going first. Here's our 7 cards. We've got a nice mix of lands and monsters. You're allowed to mulligan in this game. You start obviously with your 7 cards, and you're allowed to go down to 6 if you want. Like, you shuffle these cards back into your deck and draw 6. So you lose a card, but you get a better chance at the hand. You're then allowed to go down to 5 if you want, and 4, and 3, and 2, and 1, I think. But most players wouldn't go anywhere near like past 4, 5. I think for most players is the most. But this is actually a pretty good hand because we've got 4 land, which is good, and some low cost cards to play. So this is pretty good. So we kind of skip our draw step, I think, because it's our first turn, and then you just go around to playing a card. So you're just like, okay, we have to play our land first. In this case, it doesn't really matter. We have more red cards, so we'll play a mountain first to get our 1 red mana going. And then we come back around. So then our opponent says, okay, he plays a land too. He can't play a card in his hand either because he doesn't have anything that costs 1 mana. So it comes back to us. And an actual turn starts off with what's called an upkeep step. That is when, okay, you've played a land and say you've used it last turn. Upkeep means that you're now allowed to use it again. It becomes untapped. Same happens if you've attacked with a monster or so on. It becomes untapped, ready to attack again, and so on. In this case, we didn't use it last turn, so it just stays the same. We draw our card is the next phase, and then we go back down to our main phase, and we're allowed to play a land again. So in this case, we'll just play a forest. And then we can actually play a card this turn, an actual one. Now we can play any of these cards because we've got a total of 2 mana on the board, 1 red, 1 green, and we can actually play any of these cards. We can play Lightning Strike because we have one of any colour plus a red. We can play Voyaging Satyr, the creature, or Satyr Rambler. Now in this case, the best card to use here is actually this guy, Voyaging Satyr, because he has an ability that actually gives you an extra land, which is going to come in handy probably next turn. So how you summon him? He requires 1 mana of any colour and a green mana as you go. Okay, 1 mana of any colour. We have a red one now, plus the green. We now have that. We've used our 2 mana, and we can now place him on the field. He's now cast. He can't attack immediately because whenever you summon a creature, it suffers from what's called summoning sickness. So it can't attack on the first turn it's summoned. It can block when my opponent takes his turn, but we can attack next turn with him. We can still activate his effect if we wanted to, but there's no real point right now because we don't have any cards that cost 1 in our hand. Not to mention, if we did that little arrow means tap this card, so turn him sideways. That means he couldn't actually block next turn, which means we'd lose points. But anyway, it goes to our opponent's turn. He plays his land. He does his upkeep step, and he then summons his card. So he taps his land and summons this guy, Satyr Hedonist, who has 2 attack, 1 toughness, and while we only have 1 attack, 2 toughness. So you see we have fairly similar monsters on the field, and then it goes back around to our turn. So this is where I can show you the upkeep step properly. So he ends his turn, we go to our turn, we upkeep by untapping our lands. They're available to use again. We go into our draw step. We draw a card, and then we're allowed to play another land again. We have more, as I said, red cards, so it's better to play the mountain now. And then I usually just kind of organize them so you have similar colors together. And so we now have 3 mana in play, plus this ability actually technically gives us 4 mana. So we've got the chance to do some stuff here. So what I'm gonna do first is actually just cast this monster. So Satyr Rambler requires 1 red and 1 of any color. So in this case, it's probably best to just use the green one, since we're not going to play any greens per turn. So there's our 1 mana of any color. There's our red mana. We summon Satyr Rambler. And he, again, suffers from summoning sickness. His ability activates when he attacks, so that's not going to come into play. Now, we can actually use Voyaging Satyr here to do something. We want to play a Lightning Strike card, but we only have 1 mana available. So what we can do is activate his effect, and that, as I said, that little arrow there says tap this card, untap target land. So you go tap, untap target land, and then we have 2 available. So we can go tap, tap to play this card, because obviously this counts for the one mana of any color. This counts for the red. We play our instant card, which is Lightning Strike, and now we can either deal 3 damage directly to our opponent over here, or to that monster. And I think the best thing to do is probably get rid of that monster, so he doesn't have a card in the field. So we deal 3 damage to the target creature. In this case, it has only 1 toughness, so it's actually destroyed by that effect. Now, there is a kind of thing in Magic called a stack, so when I actually play this card, I think it goes on what's called the stack. And then my opponent actually has the opportunity to respond to my card by, say, activating an instant of their own. And then if they activated that, that would take precedent to this, and my card would be destroyed. But in this case, this goes in the stack, it activates, that's destroyed, goes to the graveyard. Our card has been used, it goes to our graveyard, and obviously this is suffering from summoning sickness, so it can't attack. This is used as effect, it's been tapped, so it can't attack. We have to end our turn here. So it goes to our opponent's turn. They draw their card. They play their land. Just awkward to play both sides of the board. But they play a 3rd land. They tap all their mana over here to summon Nessian Corsair, who is a 3 mana 3/3, so it's a pretty powerful, and it's a effect. It doesn't have an effect, that's just a flavor text, but it's a reasonably powerful monster. You can see that this is like the power of green cards, like that's just 3 mana and it's a most powerful card in the field. But it comes around to our turn again, and obviously we our untap step in this case applies to our lands, and also our Voyaging Satyr here activated as effect. So everything is untapped. We draw a card, we drew a mountain, and we'll just play a forest this turn, just to give us a variety of mana to use. And now, all that's left in our hand is a card that costs 5 mana to use, and a mountain and a forest. But here's the thing, we can actually cast this guy because of our Voyaging Satyr. So what we can do is actually go, okay, tap all of our land. So that means we have a total of 4 right now. And even though we're not using it, we can still do that. We then use Voyaging Satyr, untap this guy, tap it again, and that means we have 5 thanks to this guy's effect. We've used our 4 that we already had in the field, activated his effect to untap one of our lands that we've used, and use it again. So we now have a total of 5 mana, it agrees with the cost. We can summon Stone Shock Giant. And this guy can attack now if he wants, and this guy's obviously here for next turn when he's available to attack. In this case, he's a 3/3 in the field. We don't want to attack him, because if we were to attack, we have to. This is how a battle phase works in Magic. You go, okay, tap, attack, and it's not like Yu-Gi-Oh where it directly happens. You choose what you want to attack. You just say, okay, Satyr Rambler is going to attack this turn, and then our opponent actually. It goes to them, they're allowed to decide, okay, you're attacking with him, I am allowed to choose who I want to block with and what I want to block. So in this case, he'd go, I'm going to block with Nessian Corsair, and Corsair, and that would result in my thing being destroyed, because how battling works, just comparing these two, is that my guy would be attacking, so he has 2 power, 1 toughness. He'd do 2 damage to Nessian Corsair, bringing him down to 1. But the blocking creature also does damage to the attacking creature, so he'd take 2 damage, but I'd also take 3, resulting in my creature being destroyed and his not. So there's actually no point in attacking this turn with Sailor Rambler, because he's got a pretty powerful monster on the field. So we actually just have to end it here. We're not really in danger of being attacked by him, because we have this guy to block and this guy to block, and he's more powerful. So you can sort of see what the game is about. Getting mana, being able to use the cards in your hand, and then hoping you actually get the good draws. Hoping your deck works out well, where you get low mana cost things to do in your early on in the game, and you get the more powerful cards throughout the game. So it goes to our opponent's turn. They play a land, they untap all their stuff, and they can activate spells of their own, like this Magma Jet. It does 2 damage to a target creature or player, and says scry 2. So they're going to play this. It costs 1 red mana and 1 of any colour. It activates. They're doing 2 damage to my Voyaging Satyr to stop me doing crazy stuff with land. This card basically gives me an extra mana, land per turn. So he destroys that with the 2 damage. And then it's a scry 2. What scry 2 is basically, you take the top 2 cards of your deck, you're able to look at them, and then organize them in any way you want, and either put one on the both of them on the top of your deck, one on the top of your deck, and then one on the bottom of your deck, or so on. So he'll go, okay, one on the top, one on the bottom. That way, scry allows you to basically choose your draw in a way. So it's a pretty cool effect. But he can't really do anything else this turn. His Magma Jet is used up, and then he can decide to attack if he wants. Now, again, this is kind of the one confusing thing. This is the one thing that confused me the most starting to play Magic, was the strategy behind attacking and defending in this game. I still am the biggest fan of it. I much prefer the Yu-Gi-Oh style of play, but I can see the strategy that it has, and that he kind of has an advantage because he's more powerful than this. But the thing is, he can't just directly attack this, as I said. He would go, okay, I'm going to attack with an Nessian Courser, and I then get to decide I'm going to block with what? I can block with nothing and just take the damage. I could block with this and have him destroyed, or I could block with this guy and just kill him. That's the thing, you actually have to be really careful, get the board into a state where you can actually attack properly. In this case, it's just not a good position. I can't really show you it because it doesn't make any strategic sense for him to attack this turn or me to attack last turn. So he's just going to end his turn without doing anything else. We untap all our land. We draw our card. In this case, we got Rage of Perforos, which is a sorcery card. And this is actually perfect right here to get rid of this thing on the field and show you how to do damage. In this case, what we do is we're going to play an extra land. So we now have 5 land in play, which is enough to use Rage of Perforos. We can't quite use the ability Monstrosity 3 yet, so we're just going to actually play our Rage of Perforos. So we tap all of our mana here, which adds up to 5. It meets the cost. Rage of Perforos deals 4 damage to target creature. It can't be regenerated this turn, and I get to scry 1. So it deals 4 damage to Nessian Courser. He only has 3 toughness, so he's destroyed. That creature can't be regenerated this turn. It just means they can't get it back from the graveyard if they had a card that would do that, which doesn't really apply here. And then scry 1, so I get to look at the top card of my deck and basically decide, do I want this next turn, or do I want to put it on the bottom of the deck and get a different card? In this case, we still have a land left in our hand, so we'll just put this in the bottom of the deck and hope to get another creature or spell next turn. And that's some of the strategy of this game. So in this case, our sorcery has been used, and now we have 2 creatures that are available to attack this turn. And so this is where we're going to show you the damage happening. So I'll go, okay, I'm going to attack with both. So attack, attack. You tap them because they're actually going to waste their energy attacking. And so they don't have any creatures in the field, so they can't block with anything. So they directly take the damage to their off their life. So this guy does 5 damage, which brings them down to 15. And then this guy does 2 damage more, which brings them down to 13. As you can see there on this roll down dice. So they're on 13, and the game continues. In this case, because I've used all my monsters to attack, I'm actually wide open if he could attack next turn. But the thing that is that because of summoning sickness, he can't actually attack next turn. Because even if he gets a monster onto the field, he still has to wait a turn to use that. So there's a lot of strategy here that I really like. But anyway, we go to the opponent's turn, they play their land, they summon their monster. In this case they have the same guy that we have, Stone Shock Giant. They tap their land to pay for him. And yeah, they suffer from summoning sickness. So we draw a card. It's a forest again, so that's fine, we just play that down. Our lands get untapped. And so we have our monsters also get untapped. And so we have 6 in play. And here's the state of the field. I have these 2 monsters, he has the same guy on his side of the field. And again, here's the strategy to attacking. I could go attack again. And he's only able to block 1 monster with that. We could, if he blocked my Stone Shock Giant with his, we'd both take each other out. He could just directly block Satyr Rambler and take him out. And then that's the sort of field. He doesn't have much in his hand. I don't have much in my hand. It'd be a pretty awkward situation, but it's all up to me deciding who I'm going to attack with. Personally, the choice I'd probably make would be attack maybe with this guy only, and then he'd have to make the decision, does he want to lose that life and keep his card, and then maybe he'd be able to take this thing out next turn because since I've attacked I can't block next turn, or what. There's a lot of strategy to it here, and I'm still getting that down. That's the part of this game I'm still kind of trying to get down. Like, even this situation here, I'm not quite sure what I'd want to do. I'm just going to go with this and say I attack only with this thing. And now, as I said, he has 13 life left, so he maybe doesn't want to take 5 damage with not much in his hand. And that's the decision. Does he let his creature die but keep a lot of life, but hope that he gets a card that he can play next turn, or does he keep this thing and just take the life? If I was the defending player, I'd probably just take the damage because I'd still be left on 8, and I'd also have a good chance to do something next turn. So let's just say that happens, he decides not to block, I do directly 5 damage, he goes down to 8. So then it's his turn, his land gets untapped, he draws a card, and it is something he can use. Voyaging Satyr. Now in this case this gives him a huge advantage because he plays a land, so he has 6 now, and then he can summon this guy. So tap the 2 land, 1 green, 1 red, to summon Voyaging Satyr, and next turn he can activate that monstrosity ability with his land, but he also has 2 cards in the field. This suffers from summoning sickness, but he's going to go attack. And then I have the choice here now. Do I take the damage or do I block with Satyr Rambler? I'd probably, in this case, take the damage just because Satyr Rambler is more powerful than this. And so, you know, I'd go down to 15 in this case. And he'd still have this to block next turn. So then it goes to our turn. Again, we draw a card. We get Magma Jet. And this could really help because this is where this card could do damage to the Stone Shock Giant and help us. It doesn't help us too much, but because we can't actually attack the Stone Shock Giant this turn because he's attacked last turn. But you know, our mana untaps. We play our land, and now look, we have 7 land in play. So that means we can't not just yet, it requires 8 for the ability, but we can actually play this. So Magma Jet activates, I tap my 2 lands to activate it, and it says deals 2 damage to target creature or player. I target Voyaging Satyr. It's destroyed, I get to scry 2 and decide my next draw. So look at that, that's a really good hand actually. Two really good cards to draw. Nemesis of Mortals has an ability where his cost goes down depending on the number of creatures in the graveyard. I don't actually have many, so I'd probably put him second in this pile and put Ember Swallower on the front, so make that the next card I draw. So that's that done. And then I can decide to attack with these guys. And again, you know, in this case, that's what I do. I'd attack with both, do 7 damage to him, and he'd go from 8 down to just 1, wherever that is. There, 1, you go down to 1. And yeah, let me just quickly demonstrate to you some of the other stuff, like this monstrosity ability, for instance. Let me just find another land. So there. His ability costs 6 mana of any colour and 2 reds. So that applies here. We have 2 reds and then we have 6 others. So we untap all of that. Gets a little bit awkward to do this every turn, constantly turning cards sideways. But there, we pay our 8 cost. And now Stonechop Giant is monstrous, which means it gets 3 +1/+1 counters. So it actually becomes a 8/7 monster, which is really powerful. And it also has that ability, when it becomes monstrous, creatures without flying your opponent controls can't block this turn. So that means they can only block this turn with creatures that have flying. So that's a really powerful effect to activate the monstrosity thing. And that ability specifically, I think you can activate during your opponent's turn or during damage step and so on. And you know, I'd attack next turn and win the game. And that's basically all of it. They're all the basic mechanics of the game. I could maybe show you an enchantment, but that's the thing. This deck doesn't have... This specific starter deck focuses mainly on powerful monsters. Doesn't really have, I don't think, any enchantments. There might be one in the whole thing, but I'm not sure if I have it over on this side of the board. But either way, how enchantments work is like an instant. You play it down, except you actually attach it to a creature and it would help it. And then the effect would activate, stays in the field. It's called a permanent card. Same with like those enchantment creatures. You can cast them for their bestow cost and then they become an enchantment and so on. But that's the basic idea of how you play the game. You play your land, you activate, you use your land to summon monsters, use effects and so on, and go back and forth. The complexities come in with deciding when to attack, when to not attack, when to block, and so on. And there's some confusing stuff as well, you know, with regards to activating instants and all the time, timing. That's the same as Yu-Gi-Oh! It doesn't come up as much as you think it would, but there are some confusing situations. But for the most part, it's a really good game, I think. And especially, as I'm going to talk about next, with the way the packs are organised, it's a really fun game to just buy a few packs and create a random deck of like 1 or 2 colours from it. It's really good. But I'm going to talk next about competitive and also collectability. Let me just talk to you about the different rarities and stuff like that. In each pack of Magic you get 15 cards. One of them is a land. You get a basic land in every pack. So obviously that's a mix with, that's one of a forest, mountain, island, plains, or swamp. So it means you get basically 14 cards that do different things. And 4 of those are uncommon cards. 9 of them are commons, and then you get 1 rare or mythic rare. So the way you signify if a card is common or uncommon is the symbol here. The symbol itself, the shape of the symbol, is just signifies that this is a Theros card from the set. It's black, so that means it's a common card, the easiest ones to get. There's the most of them in any set. Next up is the same symbol, but in kind of silver, and that means that this is an uncommon card. So you get 9 of these commons in the pack. You only get 4 uncommons in the pack. Next up is this same symbol but with gold, which signifies that this is a rare. And you get 1 in every pack, but if you get a higher rarity it replaces this card. So these are kind of harder to get, and some of them are these gold cards and stuff like that. There's 1 higher rarity than this, and that's mythic rare. In the 11 packs that I opened, I didn't get 1, so they are pretty hard to get. But they basically have the same symbol, but with a kind of a orangey red color to signify that. And then finally, there is one shiny card in this game, and I think any card in the set can come in this. And I'm not really sure what it takes the place of or so on. If it takes the place of a rare. This is the shiny I got in the deck. I haven't actually got one in the pack. But most cards in the set are available in this kind of a foil type. I personally am not a fan of the way Magic the Gathering does its foils. I'd much rather they do a kind of Yu-Gi-Oh type thing where, okay, your commons and uncommons are not shiny at all. Maybe you have your rare, have the shininess behind the picture. Your mythic rare, have like the whole card be shiny or something like that. And then maybe include these as a kind of reverse hollow Pokemon type thing. I don't like the fact that the foils are kind of this afterthought and don't even look that good. Like, it's reasonably shiny, yes, but it's not really that cool. This is a rare card that I got that's the main card of the starter deck I showed you guys. But yeah, in terms of collectability, these cards are actually really good because the thing you can say about Magic the Gathering all the time is that they build their sets with limited play in mind, and that is sealed play and draft play. That's, you buy like 6 packs, you can open them up and make a reasonably good deck. If you and your friend get 6 packs, you're going to have a fun time just testing those 2 decks out against each other that you guys make. Because there's 15 cards in every pack, that gives you a nice selection of the different colours and stuff like that. And then, even in like the Pro Tour for this game, Magic the Gathering, they even do some like big events where draft is a key part of that, which is really cool. And it works because the set is constructed really well. Unlike Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's all about rarities, it seems to be all about making money, Magic the Gathering at least tries to make this balanced set where some of the best cards in the set are commons and uncommons. And even some of the rares aren't that good. Like, if you think the game's going to be dominated by rares and mythic rares, that's not quite the case, because, especially in Limited, you need a lot of the cards to have low mana cost to do well. I think the best card in the whole Limited play is the Grey Merchant of Asphodel, which I think is an uncommon, so that says a lot. And then some of the most sought after cards in draft are common, so people do actually play with them a lot and stuff like that, so that's cool. There's a constructed play kind of tournament type thing that Magic the Gathering has a ton of formats. Standard play, I think, is the last 5 or 6 sets that have been released, and you're allowed to use any cards from that, create a 60 card decks from them. There's also just using Theros constructed, there's limited Theros, draft Theros, Theros block. So this set is called Theros, which is the start of a new block of 3. Next one will be Born of the Gods, and then Journey into Nyx. And those 3 sets are themed around this kind of Greek mythology type thing. They all take place in the same plane, as it's called, the worlds in Magic the Gathering. So it's some really cool stuff here, and I really like the way this game is organised by Wizards of the Coast. Nearly every weekend you'll see on the Magic the Gathering like Twitch page live coverage of these kind of Pro Tour events and stuff like this, and it's actually really fun to watch because they do some nice coverage. The Magic the Gathering podcast I listen to, I think one of the hosts there does the commentary on it, and it's just really cool, and I wish Yu-Gi-Oh would kind of take up some of that. There's a level of kind of professionalism to this game, I think, that's really cool, where they take it seriously, but they also realise how fun it is and stuff like that. It's a really well organised game here. It still has some of the problems that Yu-Gi-Oh has with its metagame, and that like some of the I'm not that familiar with the metagame of Magic the Gathering, but I think right now stuff like this mono black devotion deck is very popular. There's this white blue control deck or something like that that's very popular. You still see that sort of Yu-Gi-Oh type thing where the same 2-3 decks are dominating tournaments. The difference I think with Magic the Gathering is that you, from week to week, you see, okay, this deck dominates this week, and then you go to the next week and you find that some of the big players have actually created decks to counterbalance this one, and so this is the new popular deck this week, and it just keeps evolving over the course of time. It's pretty interesting, but still not as fun as you might think. The most fun I've had watching Magic the Gathering and kind of playing it as well has just been making random decks, like deciding, okay, out of my card pool that I have, which is a starter deck and a fat pack, I'm going to make a blue-white deck and make it battle a red-black deck. And that's really cool that I can just actually make a deck that I'm not like putting cards that I don't want to put in it in. All of the cards, for the most part, are reasonably useful. There's obviously like about 5%, 10% of the cards that aren't that good overall, but for the most part, this game has a good balance to it, and that's what I really like. The metagame is not too bad, and especially limited. You know, the randomness of that puts the emphasis on the skill of making things from packs. But really cool, and I think it says a lot that I really want to probably buy a fat pack from each of the Magic the Gathering sets coming out, especially these Theros sets, because I really like the whole different take on Greek mythology stuff. That's really cool. But yeah, that's pretty much my video here. I'm going to end as usual with my pros and cons for Magic the Gathering, and then sometime next week I'll have my video where I talk about the other card games that I'm going to show you, and then finally, probably late next week, I'll have the results video of this series and stuff like that. And then over Christmas, I'm sure I'll have some other kind of trading card stuff to show you as well. So thanks for watching this video, and bye.